All right. We're going to be talking about classical Greece. And classical Greece is different from the beginning part of Greece. After they burn the city down in the Persian Wars, they start rebuilding and they enter a period. It's called the Golden Age of Greece. It's when architecture and art and playwright and writing and reading, it just explodes. Everything just kind of explodes within Athens. We're going to be talking about certain themes like citizenship, patriotism, education, and philosophy. Especially philosophy will be pretty big and important in classical Greece and the Golden Age of Greece. So make sure you cover that learning target. All right, the Athenian Empire. So even after a Persian retreat following the Battle of Plataea in 479 BC, Athens felt that Persia can still be a threat. So what they did was they convinced other city-states, not including Sparta, because Sparta is not a joiner, to form something called the Delian League. Think of it today as like a League of Nations or United Nations. It's groups of city-states, or which would be countries in our kind of agreement or pact we have today, that says we're going to work together for the betterment of Greece and to make sure that we don't get attacked by people like the Persians again. We're going to be working together. So in 478 BC, Athens and other city-states again. Oh, I put that twice. Not for forming Sparta. I have to fix that. Formed the Delian League. So they met on the island of Delos, and this would serve as the headquarters for the Delian League. Oops. Come on. And Delos is right there. That's Delos. The Athenian Empire thought, though it was headquartered in Delos, most of the officials and soldiers in the Delian League were from Athens. Sorry, I moved my face to the top here. So little by little, Athens gained control over the other city-states in their alliance. So basically, Athens wasn't, they were getting too much power. They were pretty much working with these other city-states, and as they became powerful, they kind of took over ruling them. So was Athens really a good city-state? I don't know. So in 454 BC, the Athenians moved the league's treasury. So they took all the money that they were piling together for the group. They took it and saved it in Athens. And they sent troops to help overthrow non-loyal nobles in the city-states. So it's really starting to sound like Athens is trying to take over here. They took the money. They're taking control of the city-states, and then if the people protested them, they sent troops over to overthrow those nobles. So again, remember, the only one that's not working with them here is Sparta. So at this point, the partnership kind of starts turning to become the Athenian Empire. An empire is when you start adding property, territories to your group, and then you have somebody ruling them. And that's kind of what's going on here with the Delian League. It really becomes more like the Athenian Empire. So democracy really starts to bloom in Athens at this time. Democracy is a system of government. And they have what's called a direct democracy. So it's a little bit different than what we have in the United States, because direct democracy is when every citizen, at any time a decision needs to be made, gather together at big mass meetings to decide on government matters. So we don't have the United States. And the reason why is, can you imagine every voter in the United States, anytime a decision has to be made, and they make a lot of them in Congress, and if every time one had to be made, you would have to troop up to, we're up, Washington, D.C.'s up. So troop up to Washington, D.C. to all get together in a big mass meeting and make a vote. Like we have, a couple million people in the United States. So to do that, to count all those votes, every time a vote would have to be made, it would be pretty impossible. But Athens was much smaller. So in order to do that, by the way, the only citizens that could vote, remember, citizens were only natural born males. They're the only ones that could vote. So the only people that got together were the males that were born there. So again, much smaller than the amount of people that even lived in Athens. So in order to make it work in the United States, because we still have a democracy, we just have a different type. So they have direct democracy. Everybody gathers together every time a vote needs to be made, and they vote. They count the votes, and that's how they make their decision. The United States knows that there's no way that every citizen A, can troop down to one place to meet. It's too big. And two, to count all those votes, we wouldn't be able to get anything done. We wouldn't be able to work on jobs. We'd constantly be meeting together to make decisions. So what they decided to do, our founders made a representative democracy. That is when you go and you vote for who's going to represent you and your thoughts and your opinions. That's why voting is so important. Without you voting these people in, it's like you really don't have a voice. So when we have elections for our representatives, like the House of Representatives, for our senators who work in the Congress, the person that you choose, that you vote for, should represent your feelings and thoughts on all different kinds of issues. So that person that goes in and votes is representing how you feel about a topic, about a law, about whatever it is that may be voted on. So that person represents you, and that's their job, to go to Washington, D.C. and vote for everything. So that is how we're different than the direct democracy. It's a representative democracy. They represent you and vote for you. So, like I said, direct democracy worked in Athens because a smaller group, maybe about 6,000, would show up to meetings that were held every 10 days. Every 10 days. So if we met every 10 days in the United States, wouldn't happen. When a decision was made, a group of 10 generals would carry out the policy or put the law into effect. One of those generals that you need to know about, his name is Pericles. He was the most popular figure in Athenian politics. Whoops. Again. He guided politics in Athens for 32 years, from 461 BC to his death in 429 BC, which is going to take place in the next war we talk about. Under Pericles, Athens dominated the Delian League members, even demanding loyalty and steady payments. So not only, again, did they take over control of the city-states, did they move the money to Athens, did they go and pretty much threaten these nobles that were not loyal to Athens, but now they are demanding a tribute, a tax to be paid to Athens. Here's another picture of Pericles. Athens is just getting too big for its britches, and it's going to be its downfall. So Pericles is famous for making people important because of their talent, not their social standing. So again, if you were good at something in government, you do that job, not because you're rich, not because you're powerful, because you're good at that job. He also supported the poor, lower classes' involvement in government. So he didn't care what your social status was, how much money you had. If you were good, come join government. Many were given jobs in public office, and in Athens, Pericles was making things more and more democratic. So basically setting up democracy for all. The age of Pericles was a time of great creativity and learning. After Persia destroyed Athens, Pericles ordered it be rebuilt with beautiful buildings, temples, and statues. So all the things that kind of left over today are things that were made under Pericles. Pericles is a great supporter of the philosophers, who we haven't talked about yet, but we are going to be talking about next week. He loved the philosophers. They're the ones that are going to make education kind of important and thinking important in Athens. He also supported the arts. He supported writers. He supported architects, which is why it ends up becoming this beautiful city-state with all this great architecture that is even modeled around the world today. Like, we have buildings in our government that are set up that look like these buildings, okay, because they took inspiration. They took the Grecian way of doing things and applied it in our country. Philosophers are thinkers who ponder questions about life, and we're going to be talking about them later. In Athens in the 4000 BC, Athens was the most populated city-state with more than 285,000 people. Again, most of those guys couldn't vote. The population breakdown, 150,000 of those were citizens, male, natural born. 35,000 foreigners and 100,000 slaves. Slavery was common during this time throughout the ancient world. In pretty much every place you go to in the ancient world, you're going to find slavery. Not a great thing, but it's just a common theme. We know better today. They didn't then during this time throughout the ancient world, though, but without their labor Athens could not have supported its growing economy. Many Athenians were farmers or herders. Farmers grew grains, vegetables, and fruit for local use, and grapes and olives to make wine and oil to sell abroad. Herders raised sheep and goats for wool, milk, and cheese. Merchants and artisans of Greece became very wealthy, selling pottery, jewelry, and leather goods. Athens quickly became the trading center of Greece. Whoops. Athenian men usually worked only in the mornings. That way they had time to attend assembly meetings and exercise in the afternoon. And then at night, men attended male-only gatherings to dine and discuss politics or philosophy. The women, as we know, women didn't have much jobs, didn't really have much to do. Their life revolved around family. Women were expected to take care of the children, keep the household in order, and spin wool into cloth. Most women rarely left the house except for festivals and funerals, and then only when accompanied by a man. Few women in Athens moved freely in public life. All right, I'm going to link this video for you below. It's about the social classes of ancient Greece, mostly Athens, and it will give you kind of an idea more than what I did today about daily life in Athens. All right, and that's it. Take your notes.